This video tutorial is to give you an understanding of what you need to do for the coaching development plan, both part 1 and part 2 for sports coaching. So you're encouraged to use this video to complete task 3 of assignment 3 in sports coaching. It's going to guide you through the task requirements of the development plan, again both parts, and we're going to use a couple of examples on the development plan for you to be aware of and that you could possibly use if they're appropriate to you. So what you should be able to understand and do by the end of this video and apply it to your assignment is to be able to identify your current strengths and areas for improvement in the planning stage. I'm going to go through a list of those that you could use as possible suggestions, and the second part we're going to look at how you can go a little bit further in more depth to appropriately suggest how areas for development can be improved and justify how the suggestions actually improve performance of you as a coach in future. And again, that's for both the planning stage and the delivery stage. Now, all of that is quite a lot of information. So at the start, we're just going to focus on the first point. This is an identify, but we need to get this identify correct in order for it to allow us to go a little bit further and go on and look in a little bit more detail at the suggestive points. First of all, we're just going to look at this key area here, the planning stage. Okay, so as we're looking at the planning stage, we're looking at these as this list here as possible things that you could highlight as strengths or areas of improvement within the planning stage. And we've got to be aware that that planning stage itself, the first development plan, is the time that you produced your session plan with your partner, and you've got to just analyze how productive you were and also the quality of what you've produced in terms of your plan. So these are a few things we could look at. Ability to research the coaching topic effectively. Did you use your mobile phone or the internet if you're at a computer? Did you access ideas? Did you ask questions to an experienced coach or other people in the class? The clarity of your coaching objective, is it clear or is it quite poor and not specific enough or descriptive enough? The accuracy or how inaccurate possibly your timings were. Did you break them down? Did you have sort of a 30-minute section of a session which you could have broken down further, or were you too specific by highlighting 1 and 2 minutes and breaking things down too much, which I don't think any of you were. Quality of your diagrams, and appropriately what diagrams did we use, so you can relate to different sections. Skill development would expect to use technical diagrams to relate to the technical points, end game, warm-ups, cool downs, etc. Possibly bird's eye view diagrams. So do we use the appropriate diagrams? How clear are instructions, correct or incorrect technical points, and methodical technical points. So were they the correct technical points for the skill? And this point here is possibly going a little bit further, or being a bit more specific by saying, did you list them in a specific order, for example, from head to toe, or did you go from the feet of the body upwards, to make it easier for you to use? Is the plan clear, or is it a little bit scruffy, a little bit uneasy to read, possibly too much writing in there, or has it got good clear bullet points which are good for practicality? And the other point in terms, the last point that you could use as a suggestion, communication with your coaching partner. Did you speak to each other during the planning stage enough? Did you both plan together, as that's an important element? Okay, so here's an example. We've got our development plan part 1, which is the planning process. That's important. Those suggestions that we've had previously, you can highlight as a strength here or your second strength there. And that's as far as you need to go with your strengths. However, whatever you indicate as the 2 strengths, you can't have something which is the same thing as an area of improvement, which is what we're looking at in these 2 boxes here. We can see an example. So poor quality diagrams in the skill development phase. That could be something that we're highlighting as an area for improvement. Now, if I'm just to scroll along a little bit to see what we need to do further, after we have this area for improvement identified, these 3 columns here, suggestion of how to be improved, potential barriers for you doing this, and a target date for improvement. Those are the 3 boxes which relate to the merit criteria for that particular area that we need to improve. So poor quality of diagrams in the skill development phase. So we might have had a bird's eye view diagram, or it could have just been quite unclear. Now, as we move on to what is that merit criteria, looking at appropriately suggesting how the areas for development can be improved. So we're still looking within the planning stage. So remember, that is when we're writing the plan, and following we'll have an example for you. Okay, so we've just highlighted an area for improvement as poor quality of diagrams. Suggestion that we have to improve needs to be something significant. It can't just be draw better diagrams, because that's not necessarily, yes, it's what we need to do, but it's not necessarily how we are going to be improved. So the suggestion here is quite a straightforward one. So we're going to go onto the internet and search for clear and correct diagrams that show the technical positioning of the body. Okay, so in terms of a potential barrier, we've suggested go onto the internet. We might not have access to the internet, or you can provide a suggestion such as having to pay to access good quality coaching websites. Now, in terms of this, you don't have to produce 2 barriers, just 1. So accessing coaching websites, you might have to pay for those. A target date for improvement, would probably look at that being within the next few weeks. So 4 weeks or so is okay. Now, what I want you to be aware of is indicate the month and the year. So December 2015, that would give us a few weeks to do that. And the month and year is fine for a target date to improve. So the final part at the bottom here, as we have areas for improvement, we've identified, which is related to our past criteria. We've provided a clear suggestion, a barrier against our suggestions, something that might stop us from doing what we've suggested here, and a target date to actually improve this and carry out this suggestion. We need to now justify what we've suggested. So justify what is in this box here. We've got a number 1 here, and we'll follow this all the way along there, and then we'll drop down to the distinction criteria here, the justification of suggestions. For this section, the guidance is quite clear. Follow what it says here in this box above, just there. If you're unclear of what the word justify means, I want you to research it. This is distinction criteria, so you need to be able to do certain things yourself independently, and researching a term like justification shouldn't be difficult for you. Really what you need to do is make sure that what you write in this box provide details which are asked for in the brackets here. Which is relating very much to the suggestion that you've provided there. So we would have to justify how going onto the internet to search for clear and correct diagrams would actually improve our ability to write a good session plan and prepare us for coaching. So there you can relate to how diagrams are a good visual tool for when we're in a session and we need to look at a session plan. It's quite easy to use a diagram as opposed to words. So make sure clearly your reasoning is full and justified. For development plan 2, we need to go through the same process. However, we need to be aware that we're looking very much at the delivery stage. Again, strengths and areas for improvement. There's a few suggestions here, things which might take place during the session, and this is the key, making sure that we're using these in development plan 2, which is the delivery stage. Organisation of equipment, ability to effectively demonstrate, your positioning to observe, your quality of feedback from the analysis. So those two link quite closely together, but can you be distinct? If one is a strength, is the other one an area of improvement, or is it also a strength? Confidence to deliver might be relating to your verbal communication and your personal self as a coach. Clear communication when giving instructions to participants. Interacting with participants in small groups, one-on-one. Also possibly could be aware of the whole group, which might be a confidence element. positive attitude or approach, so how you brought enthusiasm into the session, and your time management within the session. Did you structure the session well and go through those sections, warm-up, skill development, progressions and games appropriately? Did you miss out a section? That might be an area to improve. Okay, so we're moving on to our development plan part 2. Here we have the session delivery and coaching. Our area of improvement, as an example, is positioning to observe. In terms of the merit criteria here, what we might do to explain. Okay, so suggesting how we could improve. To observe, we might observe an experienced coach, see what positions they take up when the participants are practicing. That could be something we could carry out. And if we just move this along a little bit, have a look at the barriers. We might not have access or connection with an experienced coach, so that could stop us from observing a coach. Or we might not have transport to go and observe a coach. That could be something. It might be something which conflicts with your personal schedule, if you like. If you don't have any free time, if you're a very busy person, if you work, you could use those as possible barriers. Access, cost, etc. A target date for this one, with it being a practical aspect, we're going to look at 3 months as a guide. So if you use something like February 2016, that will give us a few months to actually improve, go and observe that coach that we're going to that we've suggested to help us develop. Again, for the distinction criteria, again, the same feedback from previously, but we've got to really make sure that we justify by giving reasoning to what we've suggested, which should be a significant suggestion, whether it is self-analysis, whether it is practice, coaching and review yourself. It might be buddy system, get somebody to give feedback on you. It might be relating to a certain coaching qualification of relevance, or could be something along the lines of observe an experienced coach. Whatever you're suggesting needs to be relevant to what you are identifying as the areas to improve, and to meet the distinction criteria we need to give reasoning which is appropriate on how it will have a positive impact on us in future as a coach. Okay, good luck with this task in producing the development plan, parts 1 and 2. Be very clear on part 1 and part 2 and the different requirements of them. Good luck.